Our stroke program has really been in existence for about 10 years. It was born out of a desire to be better, honestly, from an individual patient experience standpoint, as well as what the system can deliver in terms of just how well we take care of our patients. I'd say our program is probably a bit more aggressive and proactive and innovative than many around us. And I think that's mostly just because of the passions and interests of people involved in stroke steering, folks in my department, emergency medicine, from hospital medicine, from neurology, just a real desire to be good at this. Individual hospitals just have to be as good as they can be, and that's really what we've tried to do. So I think we've come a long ways. We've collaborated with MGH with their teleneurology program to really force us to be better at this, but also to combine speed and agility and content expertise as quickly as we can. Yeah, so the door to needle, I'll start with why it's important. So the door to needle is not only something that regulatory oversight bodies think is important. It's a metric that we're all held to. It really does seem to be important for patient outcomes. Getting to that 60-minute mark is really, really difficult. So the foundation of being successful at that is what we call standard work, or just standardizing what the process is. So the process is step 1, step 2, step 3, and putting that together. So when I came here almost 20 years ago, I'd say that the approach to stroke wasn't as well developed, and it really was people making decisions armed with the best information they could gather at the time, and a lot of times it felt as if you're making decisions ad hoc, whereas now we're trying to develop a system that allows the team to get to that 60-minute mark and make the decision: is the patient a thrombolysis candidate or not? Are they a candidate for a thrombectomy or something that requires being sent out to another facility? And to get there in a standardized fashion. So we have stroke activation criteria, which I think are pretty robust. In fact, we were told by our D&V surveyor this year that our stroke activation criteria were so good that we should publish them, which I thought was a good compliment. We've also educated the workforce, kind of soup to nuts, on how the program works, what the different components are. At the same time that during this entire process, there's always some change to the best way to do something. So we've actually had to try to standardize the process as we're implementing changes to activation criteria, changes to vessel imaging or imaging studies used, and when you use them. So leveraging Mass General has been an important part of that, honestly. So they've been a pretty good partner with us through their teleneurology program, and the real advantage to that is you get, world-leading content expertise within a phone call quickly, but it also tends to be faster than actually waking somebody up at 2 in the morning, having them drive to the hospital to see the patient. So although it's not a perfect system, it seems to be the perfect compromise for getting what the patient needs really, really quickly. And one of the other advantages of that content expertise is if the patient does have a need that can't be met here locally or even in the state, that the same conversation we're having with those content experts is the same conversation that leads to their care in Boston. So it seems to be a good thing so far. Another thing that we're doing, I think, is important, is every time we have a stroke activation, we're actively reviewing the process, and we're going back to the people who've done the work and ask them the question, did the system work? And is there a way for the system to be better, which I think is a great way to phrase the question. So stroke care is very important because it's a significant illness. Time is brain, and being able to assess the patients in the community they live is probably the thing for a long time that will be the best thing to do because of timeliness. And if you can determine quickly if the patient is a candidate for thrombolysis or clot-busting medications, first off, that's step one. And then if you need mechanical thrombectomy or more aggressive interventions, then that question becomes, is in the future will we be able to do things like that here locally?